Actually, this is not a surprise for me. We recognize not by de facto, but by de jure. 2 years ago, we had a fundraising dinner for Labour Friends of Palestine. And to my surprise, I was called to the podium to give a speech. Of course, after I spoke, Ed Miliband spoke. And Ed Miliband, from that podium, he promised two things. One, that the Labour Party recognizes the state of Palestine, and he recognizes the Palestinian ambassador. So it's deja vu, Richard. I thank you again for trying more or less to bolster our position here and to address me as an ambassador. The question is not the recognition of an ambassador. A two-state solution has been agreed upon many years ago by the international community, almost 20 years ago. But it is so ironic that we see the governments in the UK taking a certain stand on Israeli settlements, on the recognition of a two-state solution. They take a stand against the apartheid wall. My problem basically is, it's that they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. It's about time that this government, or the future Labour government, is going to take a firm stand against the issue and the principle of recognition. And if we want to wait for that recognition to come in culmination of negotiations, I tell you, my friend, this peace process has been stalled for so many years now, to the point that we are stuck between the historically inevitable and the politically impossible. So let us not wait for negotiations to happen in order for us to be recognized by Israel, and that recognition could prompt the UK and other European countries to follow suit. No, we want you to recognize us now. We need that recognition, and we need your position on a two-state solution, not based on negotiations, but based on the rights of the Palestinian people for their own self-determination. And that's why, it goes without saying that a Palestinian state is there. If we take all the characteristics of what it takes to have a state and a nation state, we have all that. 47 years we've been under occupation. And that occupation has been considered to be the longest occupation in modern history. It has to end, because it's a constant breach of human rights. There is no justice. And what makes us really agonize is the fact when we are treated on equal footing with the state of Israel. We are not a state with an army with Apaches to fight Israel. This latest naked aggression is another chapter of tragedy for the Palestinians, where 2,100 have been killed, civilians, by the Israeli war machine. 10,000 have been injured. Thousands of homes have been destroyed. Gaza is in rubble, and still it is totally under siege by the Israelis. When are we going to see the international community moving? Moving because Israel is not only an occupier. What Israel is doing in East Jerusalem, in the West Bank, is total apartheid. And apartheid regimes have no room in the 21st century. We know when South Africa was suffering from apartheid, this country was the avant-garde in fighting apartheid. We would like to see that first by a strong stance by the UK government to boycott Israeli settlement goods, to boycott them, and to put pressures on Israel, and to open, basically, the barriers towards a free trade for Palestinians. Area C is totally under Israeli control, which comprises 60% of the West Bank. All our natural resources, 300,000 residents live there. 30% of our GDP comes from the Area C. let alone the tax revenues have been withheld, all along under the Paris Protocol by Israel. So how can we economically develop? How can you develop our economic infrastructure with all these restrictions of movements and goods and what have you? Israel has been acting with impunity, and the international community, beyond moral sympathy, did not go one step beyond to tell Israel and to hit it in its pocket, where boycott should play a significant role, because Israel does not understand the rhetoric of just supporting the Palestinians. They care less. Once you hit their pockets, they start reconsidering, all the issues concerning the Palestinians. Regardless that only 70 people died on the other side, 67 have been soldiers who died in combat, unlike the 2,100 civilians who died on the other side. Israel has been affected economically. Israel lost in the 51 days $4 billion, my friend. And it was Israel who wanted the ceasefire because they realized eventually that is hitting their pocket. Now, I don't stand here basically to stimulate you towards, taking certain actions. I don't understand. I'm a diplomat. And because he addressed me as an ambassador, I'm trying to be a diplomat and not an activist. But I try to say here that we have to start putting pressures on Israel. We know the United States unequivocally has been supporting Israel. And we know very well that the US failed dismally in being a third party to this peace process. We wanted the UK, the Troika and the EU to push forward and to try to affect, the entire peace process by putting their instruments of pressure through the question of the trade relations, the association agreement in the EU. These are the things that makes Israel think twice before continuing with the occupation of the Palestinian people. We cannot continue to be, aggressively attacked by the Israelis, because, human lives are human lives. Enough is enough. And this saga has been going on every 2 years, a spiral of violence, then negotiations, then again violence, then negotiations, and this vicious circle has to stop. I think the international community owes it to us. We are the only nation without self-determination. In 1916, when President Woodrow Wilson, put the criteria for people's self-determination, I think we were, even then, have the right for our own self-determination. Now we have accepted our painful historic compromise in having our state on 22% of historic Palestine. But Israel wants the cake, and they want it too, and to have it. It's not only that they are occupying, our territories, they want us also, in the fundamentals, to accept their control over the Jordan Valley, which is 40% of the territories where the rich natural resources are. And they want to render the Palestinians living what they call autonomy plus. And that, I couldn't figure it out as a political scientist, what autonomy plus means. It's more than autonomy, less than a state. So, this is the regime in Israel. This government has come on a ticket, on a political platform that is based on settlements. We cannot continue dealing with such mentality which is extreme, that has a lust to grab more land, and the continuation of building settlements is a recipe for disaster. We need to stop that. That should be stopped. Serious negotiations should take place. We made our painful historic compromises. I think Israel has to understand one reality. They cannot control and keep on controlling the occupied territories. I think the sooner the better. Time, my dear friends, will be on the side of the victims and not the victimizers. It's about time that the international community should understand that the Palestinians, now almost 5 million in the occupied territories, are going to steadfast until they get their freedom and their justice, and this is only a matter of time. Thank you very much.